That is it, other than to introduce our first speaker. Now, anyone who knows me knows I spend far too much time talking about old dusty arcade cabinets. Now, one person, I can tell you lots. I can get involved in an arcade cabinet with a soldering iron and tell you some scoring strategies for an obscure Japanese shmup. But our next speaker, for one, has been an expert on that industry for a lot longer than me, but that would kind of undersell his experience of, I guess, many, many forms of entertainment out of the home. Me, it's dusty old arcade cabinets, with Kevin, who's about to come to the stage, everything from theme park design to now the opportunities virtual reality has in this. I think some people might be surprised how much potential there is and how big kind of out-of-home entertainment is. So, without further waffling, welcome to the stage our first speaker, Kevin Williams.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you to Will. Always a pleasure. I'm one of those individuals that was here at the first gathering of this event 24 months ago.
Yeah.
Ooh, time flies when you're not drinking enough. I would also like to thank, obviously, our friends at VR World Congress for inviting me back again. Obviously, I didn't cause too much confusion. I am from the out-of-home entertainment sector. I have worked in out-of-home entertainment for most of my career. That includes amusement, theme parks, video games, also retail, also visitor attractions, museums. It's a wide and diverse sector, and virtual reality, or as I like to say, immersive entertainment, has a very big part to play in that. We live in a moment in time where we're seeing a technology being deployed and being utilized in multiple sectors for the second time. This is not virtual reality's first rodeo. This is not the first time that virtual reality has attempted to be in the mainstream, and it is important that you understand the history of that. Just a little bit about myself. I run something called KWP, which is a specialist consultancy that works in the sector. I also publish something called the Stinger Report, which is a scurrilous news service that creates tons of fake news about the out-of-home entertainment sector. And I run the DNA Association, which gathers together all of those scurrilous individuals in a drinking group together, and we talk about the sector. But a little bit more about that later. These are some of the companies we work with. You'll recognize some. You'll see a lot more of these. I'm an ex-Walt Disney Imagineer. That's where I started really getting into the deep and nasty of the immersive entertainment approach. But I also work with companies on the arcade side of the sector, on the theme park side of the sector, and also on the investment side of the sector, because, as Will said, we're dealing in concrete things here. These are real projects. These are not possibles or maybes. These are really where the money is being generated in what some people like to call the virtual reality industry. Always an important statement to remember. So, the person with the bad hair and the bad head-mounted display is me, here in Bristol, many moons ago. Edge cover, oh God. Edge magazine, oh yeah. Virtual reality ain't new. You can really say that its first stab at going mainstream was in my sector, in the arcade sector. The technology was expensive, cumbersome, and difficult to use. And the best place to put expensive, difficult, and cumbersome entertainment technology is in the out-of-home entertainment industry. While at Disney, Imagineering had been working for some time on use of immersive technology, which they'd taken from the military and commercial applications. They then sat down and created a platform that could actually be fielded in the 90s to the mainstream, that you could literally have people come through your facility, put on head-mounted displays, and without taking too long, get immersed in an environment. And that system, the Disney Vision system, and the facility that was created to do that, Disney Quest, is still open today. It was meant to have closed last year, but it's still going. That is the longest operational virtual reality entertainment facility in the world. And how many of you know about it? Show of hands, Disney Quest? If you don't know your history, you'll be cursed to repeat it. We've been working since the starting of the consultancy back in 2011 when our friends at Sony started putting money into the HDTV system. Oh God. We started to see a lot more interest in companies looking at immersive entertainment systems as out-of-home applications. And then, whiz-bang, we suddenly saw the explosion of interest with the investment in Oculus, and then with HTC and with other companies. And so certain individuals went down the path of consumer, while other companies went down the path of out-of-home entertainment. I've been using the phrase out-of-home entertainment a lot. Let me try and explain to you a little bit more about what we mean by this. The green blob there is our lovely friends in the pay-for-play entertainment industry, the arcade, pop-up entertainment sector. The purple blob there, for you colorblind, are the theme park visitor attraction sector. Then we have the education, the expo, the historical, the museum sector. Retail and hospitality. Retail attainment is a phrase that you'll hear used a lot in our sector. The retail industry is desperate to increase dwell time because of the erosion caused by the World Wide Web. And then you have blue. Now that blue blob wasn't there a couple of months ago in my presentations. It wasn't there in a couple of years. That used to be a large grey blob next door to the other grey blob, which is the consumer games industry. The reason why the consumer games industry is treated as a grey blob is fundamentally it's an industry that has impact in the out-of-home entertainment sector. We take their IP, we use their licenses, but fundamentally we do not really see them as a part of our sector. They're a vast billion-dollar sector. And we used to treat the gambling industry that way until recently. And I'll show you why that is important. Our audience is audience. We're a social industry. We don't care if it's 3D colored glasses or immersive entertainment, as long as it generates bums on seats, as long as it pulls audiences into our specialist facilities, we are happy to embrace the technology. I do not work in VR, I do not work in AR, I work in immersive entertainment, be that a 3D projection system, be that virtual reality head-mounted displays, be that augmented reality, or be that next-generation mixed entertainment systems. I'm here to work with technology that immerses the paying customer, the human being, the guest we invite into our facility. So, to understand how we went from a shoebox on your head to getting close to a pair of goggles, we can blame the mobile phone. The technology of the mobile phone has allowed us to go from bulky CRT systems on your bonds to sleek OLED, FASPA, and the latest 4K and 10K display, 8K displays that we're using. And as the mobile phone progresses, that technology will progress. But that is just one path. And it's important to understand the lineage of why we're getting there, but it's also important to understand that it's just a means to an end. We try and explain in our sector the movement of immersive entertainment systems as a kind of cyclical path. So from my point of view, this is the third or fourth occasion that virtual reality has tried to become mainstream since Ivor Sutherland's days and even before then, before Sensorama. But from the application in this current reimagination of virtual reality, we're at phase 4 at the moment. Back in 2014, we had the egg-shaped Chinese motion simulators appearing in facilities. Then we've had the importing or the retrofitting of virtual reality as a means for roller coasters. We've had the pop-up of virtual arcades in China. Now we've seen that progress to the West with the pop-up arcade experiences, the arena-scale facilities, and now mixed reality. We're heading towards phase 4. And I'm going to try and touch upon some of that technology now. So from the fantastic egg-shaped systems back in 2014, we now see 4D being physical entertainment systems, utilizing virtual reality. So the screen that would normally be involved with this motion ride experience has been replaced by virtual reality head-mounted displays. In this particular case, they're using a simple and available system, which is the Samsung Gear VR system, but there are other alternatives now appearing on the market with higher resolutions. The arcade industry has finally bit the bullet and started to utilize virtual reality in their facilities. In Japan and Asia, there is still a budding arcade industry, but don't be fooled, there is still a budding amusement industry in America and the West. It's just now family entertainment centers rather than sticky floored, dusty arcade cabinets. Interesting thing here, first appearance of the Sony PSVR in out-of-home entertainment. So when someone says to you that Sony's getting into out-of-home entertainment, we in the arcade industry already knew that. You've got the museum and the theatre and the visitor experience expo market looking at virtual reality. Again, replacing the large projected screen at the end of the auditorium and using virtual reality 360 immersive film experiences. I always find it difficult to call them VR films because if you don't have positional tracking, then it's not really VR. But certain of these technologies are beginning to be embraced, and this is a great way to immerse an audience. Zoos putting 360 cameras into the enclosures, allowing individuals to get close-up live experiences or specially tailored experiences using virtual reality of their facilities. So it's not just the theme parks, it's not just the visitor attractions, it's the zoos, it's the museums, it's everybody wants to have that immersive, engaging experience. And of course, if you have a roller coaster that costs $30 million and next door to you buys another $40 million roller coaster, you usually have to pull it down and start again, where here you can utilize virtual reality to rebrand, retrofit, reskin your roller coaster. Technology is at an early stage. At the moment we're using the fledgling approach to the technology. Here you see our friends at Six Flags. They did a deal with Samsung. They're using Gear VRs. And they found to their raison d'etre that there are certain problems using consumer hardware in the out-of-home entertainment sector. I'll come on to that later. Our friends at Merlin have also developed their own virtual reality roller coaster experience. Being an outdoor experience and being in England, it has to be a waterproof system, it has to be a bit more rugged. But again, you see the application of using an immersive display system on an existing roller coaster experience. And again, our friends at Merlin, I was at the launch or the relaunch of the system. The Darren Brown Ghost Train uses head-mounted displays in a ghost train experience. So physical effects, motion effects from a ride vehicle, live actors, and virtual reality, all comprising to create an immersive entertainment experience. Again, it's all about the experience. And there are other companies. A large amount of investment is being put in by some of the major corporations. I'm not going to go through some of the slides here, but we're looking at all of the major theme parks, all of the major film companies, creating immersive entertainment divisions. And some of the mistakes that have been made by the media is, oh, that is investment in future consumer games. No, not at the moment. That investment is for future theme park, visitor attraction experiences. Then the consumer. And of course, if you haven't got a $30 million, $20 million roller coaster sitting around that needs a little bit of virtual reality rubbed into it, you can then use the robotic arm technology to create any roller coaster or any physical experience using a virtual reality headset to compel the audience. And you can stick it relatively anywhere. So it's virtual motion with virtual reality. The only thing that's real is the pain that you get from the customers who ride it. And again, the flat rides, the established rides that are already in the theme park and the funfair sector are all looking at adding some kind of virtual reality upgrade, add-on, retrofit. Zamperla, one of the oldest developers of roller coaster systems and ride systems, is investing quite heavily into this sector. But the company is also looking at other directions, and so when I talk about mixed reality, you'll understand what I'm referring to there. Hey, bumper cars. Why not even add virtual reality to bumper cars? Well, they've already done that. Chinese company has just launched a particular system that uses a room tracking experience. Everybody's wearing a head-mounted display, and it's Mario Kart near enough. Simplistic cartoon graphics, but that added additional boost is that physical contact. That when you ram that other kart in the virtual world, there's a physical vehicle represented there. And of course, the theme park industry is interested in looking at this as for dark rides and for horror experiences. Our friends at Cheddar Fair have invested quite heavily in a couple of new VR experiences that are walk round using wireless systems. And then that leads us kind of to where we're heading with the crossover between the consumer and with the corporate or the commercial entertainment applications. VR is too expensive for the mainstream. Anyone that told you that all of those lovely kids out there were prepared to pay over 1,000 buckaroonies for virtual reality to play a couple of games on was wrong. Sorry. But in the short term, we have a situation where VR is hot and people want to try VR. So we have the middle ground, the experience where facilities are being opened up, where premier virtual reality experiences are being offered, the latest games, within what I like to call them tanning salons. You pay a certain amount of time, you go in there, you tan your brain with the latest VR games, and you come out, and hopefully it generates enough interest either for the person to come back and play it again, or either for the person to go away and buy the home entertainment variant. Our friends at IMAX have taken this one stage further. They see this as a complement to their large format cinema business. So you have a cinema, the cinema industry is desperate to increase dwell time, so they are reinventing the arcade that used to be attached to the multiplex cinema. They are now creating virtual reality experiences, and also the virtual reality experiences that are being created for these VR arcades that are attached to the cinema linked into the film. So you've played the John Wick's game, go in and see John Wick's in IMAX. That's how they're thinking. IP is king, social is king, interactive is king. Our friends in the arcade industry, Namco Bandai, have put a vast amount of resources and research into developing the best way to offer virtual reality out-of-home entertainment in a package that their audience, that are already familiar with arcade machines, want to receive it. And then we have the pop-ups, the facilities where you're not quite sure if the audience wants virtual reality, so you create a pop-up experience and you drop it in. It's a temporary experience that leads you to ascertain if your audience wants a bigger bang, whether you have to have a more permanent facility. And these are appearing in casinos and cinemas and retail facilities. And of course you link them to esports, audience-based entertainment. So not only are the people playing in an immersive network game experience, but there's an audience watching that and possibly wagering on the outcome, but we'll come to that later on. And then the IP. I've already talked about how important the intellectual property is to these approaches. Here we have Sony Pictures ploughing a vast amount of money into our friends at The Void, so they could take their virtual experience system that uses physical show sets, backpack-based VR, and then they could drop those individuals in currently to a Ghostbusters experience. First one opened up in New York, second one's just opened in Dubai, and the third one's also just opened in Utah. There'll be 30 facilities around the world. London will be getting one soon. Backpack, arena-scale VR. Untethered, unenclosed. Some people call it the replacement to laser tag. A vast amount of investment is going into this aspect. It's network, something that's very important to us in the out-of-home entertainment sector. It's social, and click of a mouse, new game. You're playing with zombies the first time, click of a mouse, it's a space station. It is both laser tag without the need to retheme the experience. No running though. Backpacks can be also used for theatrical experiences. So again, our friends at Bandai Namco have been playing around with different ways to utilize the technology. Here, a very popular cartoon character, his environment has been recreated in virtual reality, and the audience can partake within the show set. So all you need is a couple of physical features that interact with the tracking experience, and suddenly you pull people into that experience. So the physical maze is now a component of the arena-scale VR experience. These are temporary systems that sit, funny enough, in a space quite similar to the one we're sitting in right now, but with a throughput of a 3-minute, 4-minute experience, with groups of 2s and 3s and 4s. You can do the maths. And the big corporations are looking at this. Our friends at Dimension Immersive have put vast amounts of money into this. They include alumni such as Steven Spielberg and some of the major film companies. They're creating both the narrative as well as the virtual experience. This is big money, gentlemen and ladies. I touched upon it earlier, gambling. I'll zip through this, but I've just come from one of the major gaming and gambling trade conferences, and I'm off to the next one in a couple of days' time. They are looking at this technology for promotion. They're looking at this technology as a means to show how clever they are regarding gaming experiences. They're looking at putting people into the middle of the sports experience, and even the virtual sports experience. They're looking at also iGaming. The use of mobile phones for gambling and gaming has totally decimated the casino industry. And so those guys have moved on to applying that technology in the latest of the iGaming gambling systems. So, you download the content, you put on the head-mounted display, and you're now playing a fruit machine within a specially created virtual environment. You don't just have to use the Samsung, you can also use agnostic systems. This is a way for them to generate money from virtual reality in the gambling sector. But the casino industry is concerned. The casino industry has seen a massive drop in their attendance. The millennials don't like to play roulette. The millennials do not like to play blackjack. That's the game of their grandparents and their parents. They want video games that you can gamble on. And that, with the new skill gaming laws that have come into place in America, in Asia, and soon to happen in Europe, you can start wagering. And then suddenly you have virtual reality arcade machines where the individual goes in and plays a game, and the people outside watching are wagering on how far he progresses through the experience. That's not just a 3D rendering. That machine is actually sitting in MGM Grand right now, generating revenue. Esports, violently important. A lot of the sports arenas that are part of the video gaming experience have been... So, from a casino point of view, the sports arena has been ripped out. The betting on sports and football and whatever, American football, has all been removed, and now they're talking about using esports as the new arena gaming environment. And again, VR is a great platform to promote the athletes over. Major audiences, major compelling experience. Anyway, I've touched on VR enough. I need to talk about the elephants in the room. Makes some people sick. We've got to be aware of that. We really have. We can't brush that under the... We in the out-of-home entertainment industry have been spending a lot of money and time evaluating and researching how we entertain our audiences. I'm not seeing that kind of support seen in the consumer sector. We need to share that data. Liability. You can't use consumer game content and hardware in our industry. You have to have it licensed, you have to pay the piper. And also liability. You have to be aware that if you're going to use it with large numbers of audience, you're going to have some kind of protection. Hygiene, can't say enough about that. Safety, hygiene, and security are the main aspects of our industry. Trip hazards. If anyone tells you that you can have a tethered virtual reality system without an attendant, they're lying to you. And the children, I'm not going to go into that one. Paying the piper. Money needs to be shared. You've seen our lovely friends at HTC with their Viveport arcade system. The structure is needed that the developer and the operator see fair shakes of the finances generated, not IOUs. And also it needs to be socially inclusive. You need to include social media in this. You need to promote it. We're a repeat visitation audience. We're not trying to get a person to come in once. We want them to come in again and again. And again, specialist head-mounted displays. We have now moved away from the traditional consumer systems, and we're now embracing the new head-mounted displays that are coming next generation. These are 4K systems. But again, sadly, they're not for the consumer sector, they're for our sector. Augmented reality. We're really excited about this. We call it mixed reality. We have a number of systems out in Asia that use see-through specialist camera systems, so people can take part in sports games where half of the environment is CGI created and the other half is real-world graphics captured. The museum industry loves that, the ability to coat a dinosaur's skeleton with what it would actually look like using this type of technology is fantastic. We have experiential, where rather than playing a game, it's actually mood creation. We also have specialist display systems. Again, the head-mounted display is not the be-all and end-all for our industry. There are so many limitations regarding the problems with hair, the problems with makeup, the problems with cleaning, problems with operation. So we're moving more and more towards creating mixed reality systems that have unencumbered immersive entertainment tech. 3D projection mapping, where you create the whole environment using projection mapping, and then you don't have to worry about putting head-mounted displays on or 3D glasses. And towards our future, we're now dealing with deep immersive network experiences used in the military and law enforcement as weapons training systems, already established technology, placing the individual into the heart of the immersive entertainment experience, and no glasses needed. But anyway, in conclusion, you just don't want to use that for a virtual reality head now, do you? Greasy, greasy, greasy. What I really want you to take away from is you need, if you're going to break into our sector, an operational model. Safe, reliable, simple. Revenue generation, it's got to be a business. You can't play at this. If you're pivoting from the consumer sector, you can't just jump into the out-of-home entertainment sector. You need to be professional about this. Content. The lovely thing about coming and supporting this part of the sector is that I know that the future is, whatever happens in the consumer game sector, it's created a large number of developers that will have to come to our sector. So yummy, yummy, yummy. Lots of good game developers that already understand the technology. And then finally, repeatability. This isn't about getting someone to come once. This is about creating a guest that keeps on coming. Anyway, I would just like to do the plug for the conference. There's a dedicated conference about out-of-home entertainment taking place in Las Vegas in September. If you need more information about that, hit me up. We'll get you. We'd like to see all of you there. Flights are cheap. I've wasted enough of your time. Thank you very much, and if there's any questions, I'll take them now. I bored them rigid. That's great. Oh, no, sorry, Steve. Sorry.
Steve there from Amplified Robots. Kevin, what's the size of the business in financial terms?
That's a very good question. You'd expect a consultant to tell you? All right, so let's see, how far can I go? It's big. Is it as big as roller coasters? Yes. Is it as big as laser tag? Much bigger. I just found out today that there's only 7,000 laser tag facilities in the world. So there's a lovely market that needs to have a little bit of virtual reality spread into it. To answer your question, it sits way down compared to the consumer games industry, which, what was it? The last number I saw was about $10 billion that industry is worth. We're quite a large industry, obviously, because of the investment that we have in from the theme park, film industry, and also the crossovers into other sectors. We're big, but we don't shout about it. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your... Oh, sorry, please, sir. Oh, God. Got to run it.
Said about the tethered experience at the moment, because that's an issue we have right now in our arcade. But at the same time, having a tethered experience prevents the player from hurting themselves, because we've heard about wireless solutions, but for us personally, we are like, we don't want to let players loose without any wires, because I've seen them just want to run into wars, so it's very staff intensive at the moment. How far are we away from having it so it's not as staff intensive and we can leave players in a room and it's very controlled? I think we need like a next step, like an AI intelligence that kind of speaks to the player. I just wanted to get your opinion on the situation.
How are you mounting the cable? Ceiling or normal?
Ceiling.
All right. With tracked or just hanging?
It's hanging, but it's got like something, so when the player moves, it kind of moves along with them.
All right. So a company who produced the HoloCube use a tethered system that's actually controlled by, well, it's controlled by the game. You know, when at certain points, if the person gets out of their field, it pulls them back in. That's one way of doing it. If you're, as your facility, from what I know, uses off-the-shelf content, you're going to have to live with tethered systems. Even when the HTC wireless solution comes out, I still think you'll find that tethered is important. One member of staff with a tethered cable system that is being created to fit the environment is the best you can do.
Okay.
And no cable slaves, please. Tethered systems that are mounted from the ceilings, not a cable that comes out of a computer. It's important. Unless you like being sued for liability. Thank you very much.